everybody, and welcome to Crafty Concepts with Erin. I am your host, Erin, and today I have a new idea that I'd like to try. So the other day I was watching crafting channels on YouTube, and I stumbled across a channel called The Creativity Cave. And she has a series called Stunning or Simple to Stunning Sundays. And what she does in that series is she takes a product and makes 3 cards, dressing it up a little bit more each time. And I really like that idea. I thought what a fun challenge, and I'd like to try that for myself. So today I'm going to use the Sunflower Sympathy stamp set, and we're going to create 3 cards, and I'm kind of calling mine easy to embellished or easy to elegant, just because it gets a little dressier and fancy each version of the card. So this is from the current catalog by Close to My Heart. This is the the September and October catalog. And if you do place an order with me, if you want to get this stamp set for your own collection, they will send you this idea book for free. You'll also get the core catalog as well, and there's lots of good stuff in there. So this is a catalog, and it's more than that. It's an idea book because there's beautiful artwork in there and just lots of fun inspiration. So again, I'll show you the stamp set in a little closer up, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have here my Versa mat, and I love working on this. On the back side is a nice foam cushion that is perfect for stamping. So we're going to turn that over since we're starting with stamping here. Now for our first card, I have a piece of White Daisy cardstock, and these are all going to be the A2 card size. So I have this trimmed down to, I believe, 4 and 5 1/4. I will have all the measurements for these projects over on my blog, so for more information, don't worry about writing everything down, just hop on over to my blog and you can find all the information there. So I have the first layer of the sunflower, and I just stamped it in the Gold Rush ink, and that came out really nicely. So there's this second layer that goes on top of that, but I'm going to skip it and just do the petals and then the center of the flower. So I'm stamping the center in chocolate brown, and I do apologize, that is a retired color, but there's espresso and some other lovely shades of brown out right now that would work just fine for this project. So to clean my stamps, I just kind of stamp them off, and then I have a moist chamois on the side there. I keep it in a little Tupperware container here just because it's wet and I don't want it to ruin my workstation. So I love the chamois. That's a new product to us, and it's fantastic. So since this is our easy card, I'm just doing all my stamping right on this layer here. So what we're going to do is I've cut a mask. I stamped the sunflower image just on a piece of scrap paper here, and then I hand cut that out so my edges would match perfectly. So then we just kind of lay that over our stamped image, and I'm going to use some Post-it removable label tape. This is just tape I ordered on Amazon. You can probably pick it up at your local store, and we'll just put those pieces around to secure it in place. And now I'm going to use my New England Ivy to stamp the leaf images, sorry about that, around the outside of the flower. Make sure you don't have any ink on the edge of your blocks. I did that earlier and had to flip my cardstock over, but there's always another side, so that works out. So I used the same leaf image for the top and bottom, and now I'm going to use the second leaf here and just kind of put it like so. Now when you take off the mask, everything should look perfect, and it does. That turned out great. So now all we need to do is stamp a little sentiment. I'm going to do that in the lower right corner, and I chose the Thinking of You. So I just want to make sure it's going to fit, and I lay it down there and then just put my block right on top. So now it's all nice and straight, assuming that you put your block down straight. So this is the black pigment ink, and I like this ink because it's really dark black, but being a pigment ink, it's a little bit more like paint. It sits on top of the paper rather than soaking in, but you do have to be very careful because it takes a bit to dry. So I'm just going to hit it with my heat gun because I'm impatient and I don't want to accidentally smear this image. You can check it with your finger, and yeah, turned out perfect. So what I have here is a sheet of, see, you can tell I stamped and got a line on the other side. So just flip it over and start over again. No one will ever know. I'm just going to use my tape runner and tack this down to a chocolate brown piece of cardstock there. And then we can adhere this to our card base. So you can cut a sheet of white daisy, or you can buy the cardstock value pack, which comes already scored and folded, and or scored, so it's easy to fold, and it comes with coordinating envelopes. So what I'm doing here is just tying a quick bow out of some jute twine that I have on hand, and I'm going to use my Tombow liquid adhesive to glue that bow down. So we'll get this situated onto our card base, and then I can go ahead and add that bow for just a little finishing touch. This is a really strong adhesive and it dries clear, so it's perfect for thick embellishments like this. Okay, I really love the way this turned out. It's simple, it came together incredibly quick and easy. So in my first card I made here, I used this watercolor pencil and just went a little darker around the outside and lightened up on the inside to give it a little depth. So let me know which one you like more, the colored or the outline leaf. Leave me a note in the comments and just vote on your favorite, but I think those both turned out really nice. Okay, so we are ready for card number 2. So that was our easy. Now we're going to get a little bit fancier. I have a sheet of cardstock trimmed in the toffee, and now I'm going to use a scrap of this saffron, stamp my sunflower image in the Gold Rush ink, and then stamp it directly on my saffron cardstock here. I have to apologize. My lighting is really bad. I had a few light bulbs burn out and I have to order my lights online and they haven't come yet. So I apologize. That should be better by next week. So I'm just repeating my stamping image, and what I'm going to do is die cut this. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my leaves. This is a sheet of fern cardstock, and I'm just using my New England Ivy ink, and I'm just going to put several leaves on the cardstock because I know I'm going to need some for card number 3. So this is a little time-saving tip. Rather than do this separately for each project, just stamp them all now because you have everything set up ready to go. Okay, so I'm just going to take a nail file here, and if you're familiar with the Close to My Heart cardstock, you know it has a white core. So when you sand it or distress it like this, it shows through and it just adds a really neat look. This is one of my favorite properties of the Close to My Heart cardstock. So just add a little distressing around the edge there. Now I do have a 1-inch strip of the plaid paper from our Hawthorne collection, and I'm just going to put this on the bottom to create a little border there. And the other side of that plaid paper is a corrugated looking like cardstock or pattern paper, and so I just trimmed down a 1/4 of an inch strip, and I'm just going to cover the edge there. Okay, so now we're ready for our sunflower. So we're going to pop this up with some dimensional foam, but I want my leaves tucked under, so I'll need to put those on first. So I'm just kind of placing them to see where I'm going to adhere those. And then we can stamp, before I glue those down, I'm going to stamp our sentiment. And in this one, I'm going to emboss the sentiment. So I'm just getting ready there. And again, I'm using, this is the embossing pillow, just kind of an anti-static pouch. So I'm using that pigment ink, and remember it stays wet, so it works really well for embossing. Okay, that turned out good. So we'll just go ahead and put our embossing powder on there. Make sure that you don't have any stray spots of embossing powder. And sorry, I'm off camera there a little bit, but I'm just setting this powder with my heat gun and blowing all of my embellishments around on the desk in the process. So that did get a little bit wrinkled, but that's okay. When we adhere it to our cardstock base, it'll all smooth out. I just learned that if you kind of heat it from the opposite side too, it will help kind of smooth that out. So I'm going to definitely be trying that trick. So we're just getting this lined onto our card base, and then we can go ahead and finish up with our sunflower element here. I just love this stamp. It just so reminds me of fall. It's very pretty. We have a lot of wild sunflowers growing around our garden, and we have the big giant ones, but we also have like the little California sunflowers, and they're just so fun and happy. And I'm going to be doing a gardening layout and definitely using this stamp for that scrapbook page as well. So here I'm just going to use a few of these foam squares. On the back side, you can see I have a sunflower stamped on the back too. Again, I was just kind of probably experimenting, so I use the other side. The foam squares I'm using are from our shaker window cards, and there's the squares inside with the outside edge for the shaker windows. So there, that turned out perfect. I'm just going to put another bow, but instead of a simple bow, I'm going to make 2 loops for this particular bow. I'll just wrap that around. I seem to be all thumbs, so I'm struggling a little bit, but this time it comes together perfectly. You can use a fork to tie a bow. That works really well too if it's hard for you to hold and work with your fingers on these small things. There's Pinterest tutorials on how to tie a bow with a fork. So be sure to check that out if you struggle with this particular process. So I just use my micro tip scissors, and again I'm going to glue this down. So you can see my bow is a little bit more ornate, and I have 2 loops on each side instead of 1. Okay, card number 2 is finished. Just a little bit fancier with pattern paper and then the dimensional die cut embellishments there. So now we are ready for number 3. Now I have this stitched border. I used our stitched rectangle dies. So instead of just a plain piece of rectangular cardstock, I punched it out with this die, so we have that nice detailed edging of the stitching around the border. So again, I'm just going to repeat the distressing process just a little bit. Just adds a little bit of interest there. And now we have another strip of 1-inch pattern paper. This is also from the Hawthorne collection, but I just thought I would do a little bit different pattern. So this is like the saffron color, and it has the little white dots, but then we'll use our corrugated strip to tie the 2 pieces together there. I'm going to emboss my sentiment like on the last card. You can never have too many thinking of you cards. Those are really versatile and just a nice way to let someone know that you're thinking about them, and whatever the situation may be, if they're going through a hard time in any aspect of their life, this would be an appropriate card. So it's a good sentiment to use. We'll just go ahead and set this embossing powder, and then we can finish this card up. We're going to do something a little bit different with the sunflower for this card. So my paper did warp a little bit. I probably should have put my pattern paper on after the fact, but that's okay. So I'm going back to stamp my sunflower, and this time I'm stamping it in that pigment ink because even I want it to be gold, and even though the ink is black, it's okay. You can use the Versamark ink for this as well, but I already have this pad out, so I might as well use it, and the embossing powder will cover any of the black. So make sure you have it good and inked up. And there we go. Looks like it came out perfectly. And now we can just use our gold embossing powder over the top of this. And then I'll go ahead and heat set this. It's better if you let your heat gun warm up. I tend not to do that, but it goes a little better if you let it warm up. And then just check if you don't have any, if there's an area that's not shiny, it probably needs a little bit more heat setting, so you can just go over that area again, which I did have a few areas that needed addressing. So now we can die cut this. Look at that shine. It's just so pretty. Sunflowers are kind of a yellowy gold anyway, so I thought the gold embossing powder would be a really nice touch. I want you to stamp the center after you emboss it. So, and now what I'm going to do is I have liquid glass and my ink is all dry there in the center, and I'm just going to apply a layer of this liquid glass over the top. So this can be used as an adhesive, but it can also be used to add a shiny layer over the top of whatever you are using to embellish. So I use my finger to kind of spread that around, and it does take a bit to dry, so you just want to keep that in mind. And now back to our card. I'm just going to use my tape runner here and tack this down into place. And then we're going to repeat the process like in the last card, and we're just going to put the 3 leaves down and then use the dimensional elements to pop up the sunflower. So card number 3 is definitely dressier. I know it's a little bit challenging to see it on camera. It doesn't pick up all the details, but we've embossed the sunflower. We've added the liquid glass to the center for that shine and dimension. And then we use the rectangle stitch dies in our background, which just adds a really nice finished detail around the edge of that toffee cardstock. So I'm just being really careful because my sunflower center is still tacky, so don't lay it down on its face to put the dimensional elements on. You just need to hold that upright. And then last but not least, we're going to add a bow, which I already tied, and this one has 3 loops because it's the 3rd card. So we'll just trim our tails there, and then again adhere this in the same location as the first 2 cards. And there you go. Card number 3. So I think these all, oh, one last thing. I was going to add some sequins to this card, and I seem to have misplaced it. So I went to my Crafty stash, and I had these brown and tan kind of amber colored adhesive back sequins, or not sequins, rhinestones. So I'm just gonna put 5 of these on. Always have to have odd numbers, so just 5 of these around the card just to kind of give it that a little extra bling and that wow factor. Okay, so there's card number 3. I love it. It's even prettier in person. So again, there's that stitched border detail around the side. And then we have the first card here where we just did single layer stamping and a little bit of masking. The second card where we embossed and then did a little distressing in the pattern paper. And then the 3rd card where we pulled out all the stops and really paid attention to detail. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to give me a thumbs up and leave a note in the comments and let me know if you like this idea where we make cards dressing them up each time. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and tag that bell icon. That way you'll get a notification every time I post and you won't miss the next episode of Easy to Embellished. And again, if you need more information for these projects, visit my blog at craftyconceptswitherin.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to spending time with you guys next time. See ya!